Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for the music, Jasenia. Much appreciated. People are still coming in, so we will continue to let them through as we start. But I just want to welcome you guys again to another WBL Institute session. It's always a pleasure to have you. This is our second to last one for the calendar year, so we're definitely excited that some of you have remained with us since October. The title of today's session is Building Effective Partnerships for ELLs and Students with IEPs. So it's definitely going to be full of content and information, and we're really excited to continue to partner with our friends in both DML and DSIS. And so moving to the next slide, we want to be able to just remind you that the WBL Institute is the PD vehicle that is hopefully going to be continuing to bring you guys continued topics through the school year. So we will be launching a winter calendar from January through March in the next few weeks. So please be sure to look out for the updated link, which will let you know what is going to be coming on the other side of 2021. So definitely, again, appreciate the support and the questions that have come out of these sessions. So please keep them coming and continue to refer this to your colleagues and those folks who maybe haven't had a chance to participate yet. So moving to the next slide. Today's agenda is packed as usual. We are going to cover the meeting norms, introduce the teams that are going to be leading you through today's content, going through the presentation. There will be breakouts today. And then, of course, we're going to refer you to all of the awesome resources that'll be at your fingertips during and after the workshop. We will include the exit survey and give you a heads up on the upcoming events to look forward to. And so moving on, we just want to make sure that we reiterate the norms. We want everyone to participate because we hope that this is going to be useful while you give us your time. We know time is precious and you can definitely be anywhere else. So we just appreciate you being here. We hope that you will commit to being present. That doesn't necessarily mean your camera has to be on, but it would be great to know that you, especially in the breakout rooms, will speak up. So leading to the next bullet, we encourage you to speak up live and engage in the chat. And definitely would love you to be able to participate in the breakouts as well. And then finally, the exit survey. We cannot stress enough that we'd love to get your feedback as to how these are actually benefiting you. Hey, how are you? We do want to make sure that you guys leave your comments with us. And then the exit ticket is and I put this in the chat, is the way for you to initiate the CTLE credit process. So if you are hoping to get credit for these sessions, we'd love you to be able to signify that through the exit ticket. That actually kicks off the process. So without further ado, moving to the next slide.
What question did you ask?
I haven't gotten any of these CTLE things yet.
I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to our team presenting today. We have, besides myself and Larry Fleming-Williams, Jasenia Crespo of Division of Multilingual Learners. And then we also have Audrey Mangan from the Manhattan TCAC team, the Transition and College Access Center. So handing it over to Dino and TCAC.
Perfect. Next slide, please. So today's outcomes is participants will be able to learn best practices and strategies for building effective partnerships that meet the needs of English language learners and students with IEPs. We also hope that you'll be able to access resources to begin partnership development and communicate the needs of English language learners and students with IEPs to partners. Next slide. To assess where folks are today with today's content, I want to encourage you to be vulnerable and honest as you engage with this quick warm-up activity. Use the chat to drop in your name, your school, your role, and on a scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable do you feel developing partnerships? 1 being not comfortable, 5 being very comfortable. And I'll give folks some time to drop some things into the chat before we move on. Thank you. I appreciate that. Great. I'm seeing some great responses. All right. Great. So it seems like from the group, we have a mixed bunch. We have people who feel very, very comfortable and people who are more like, seems like, okay, I can, but maybe I need some strategies to improve. So hopefully you'll be able to learn something, but also for those who feel very comfortable, we hope that you also share your knowledge with us and drop some gems into the chat or in our breakout rooms throughout the session. Next slide, please.
Hello, everyone. I am Audrey from your Transition and College Access Center. Our mission is to support families and students and schools to get the best transition goals for students from school to adult life. All students are provided with experiences that foster their academic, social, emotional, and vocational growth and excellence. And we facilitate multiple pathways to graduation from high school. This is directly in alignment with every CTE program, mainly being centered and focused on good outcomes for life after high school. Good transition outcomes are a living wage career, starting out, let's say, in a New York City union, gaining entry-level employment in your CTE field where the employer may pay for necessary certifications and for further college training in that field. We also look at positive transition in a student's post-secondary life as having the CTE student take full advantage of all articulation agreements that your school has with college programs, enabling those students to finish, let's say, a technical college program quicker than their peers. For our vision, through expanded linkages, targeted professional development for staff, and student-centered learning opportunities, we want all students to be provided with experiences that help foster their academic, social, emotional, and vocational excellence and facilitate multiple pathways to graduation. Our goal as TCAC is to provide CTE teachers with professional development that speaks to their experiences, concerns, and the reality of industry partner development. We already know that students involved in CTE programs have better outcomes than their purely academic peers and are only offered programs that the Department of Labor has data to support in areas of economic growth and have choice within those CTE areas to focus on a specialty within an industry such as solar electric, for example, and to tie into good outcomes for all students. So this is what our office brings to you, and we are citywide. I happen to work in Manhattan, but there is a TCAC in every single borough to support you. Next slide, please. Okay, so for TCAC, our goals in our work is to provide work-based learning and other vocational opportunities for students by working with community-based organizations, schools, and local businesses. The only way that CTE programs can grow is to connect with every available partner within your building and community. Students and staff have contacts in CTE trade areas, and they may be interested in seeing how they can connect to the school to grow the profession. Everyone has connections, and training our students now to be self-starting entrepreneurs will result in them engaging with their communities in the future to grow their businesses, which we are all going to rely on in the future. We want to provide access to college and career learning experiences that will support the attainment of graduation and diploma requirements and credential options. We know that the rate of graduation for all students is higher for those who participate in CTE program. The credentialing options can be used not only for graduation, but also to enable students who have industry credentials that sets them apart in the job market. We want to train school staff on the administration of age-appropriate transition assessments to inform student-centered transition planning. We help schools ensure that students are following the career pathways that are in alignment with their express interests, preferences, and strengths as per their IEP. We want to engage families in the transition process through family-centered workshops and information sessions. We will run workshops all the time in the evening for families. We come and present at schools at their request. We're here to support you as your program grows. And we develop and lead ongoing professional development for staff in the areas of college, career readiness, and transition planning services. We run these PLOs for students, families, schools, as well as businesses, so they're familiar with your students as they come onboarded for different work experiences. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the TCAC, we number one serve students, and we support students by offering those work-based learning experiences that can help them not only get different skills, but grow in their development, not only of the CTE program, but also in the all-important soft skills, which can help them long-term for growth in their industry. We support families. Thank you so much, Rebecca. In the chat is our catalog. We run different professional learning opportunities for families to get them familiar with the goals of the school as it connects to transition in the IEP. And we help them become more informed and be better advocates for their children. We run the PLOs for school staff, just like we're doing now, and we run independent PLOs for our groups. We also connect with community-based organizations. We have a community engagement manager who can support development of partnerships if you need us to lean in. And we connect with businesses all the time to offer different work-based learning experiences for students. We're in the process of doing that now for our training opportunity program, and that's happening under COVID. And then we connect with post-secondary institutions to ensure that they're compliant with offering students accommodations through the Office of Accessibility, where students can apply for reasonable accommodations under the ADA after they leave high school. Next slide, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Audrey, for that. And just kind of jumping into who we are as a division of multilingual learners, our vision is that all New York City's DOE's culturally and linguistically diverse students will graduate multilingual, multiliterate, and prepared to succeed in college, career, and life in a global society. And we intend to achieve this through our strategic focus areas that include, would you mind transitioning, Larry? That include college and career readiness for every MEL and ELL, rigorous instruction across disciplines for ELLs and MELs, a coherent system-wide process for supporting ELL program design and implementation, and increased family empowerment and community engagement. Next slide. So that's our division, but specifically, we are DML's post-secondary readiness team that consists of 3 members, transition. I am Yesenia Crespo, charged with career readiness for ELLs across our system. My colleague May, who's not on the call, but if Larry, you transition, you'll be able to see her who supports college readiness. And then at the next opportunity, you'll see our supervisor, Charlene, who's the glue that keeps us together. And the post-secondary readiness team is here to support you, transition. We're here to develop long-term impact. If you transition, Larry, you'll be able, yep, perfect. So we're here to create long-term impacts for ELLs that are inclusive of quality programming, partnerships, resources that will move our multilingual learners and English language learners towards college and career readiness. And specifically, our goals include increasing access to completion of CTE courses and work-based learning, and increasing graduation rates and decreasing dropout rates, and ensuring that students, ELL students, have the ability to access a post-secondary pathway of their choosing. Next slide, please. And with that, again, we're so excited, both DML and Manhattan TCAC here to be with you today. And we're going to be sharing some strategies and resources to building effective partnerships for ELLs and students with IEPs. So let's dive right in. Next slide. You'll be able to see here, there are some steps associated with building effective partnerships, especially centering ELLs and students with IEPs. Additionally, I encourage you throughout the presentation to drop in your own strategies and ideas in the chat. We saw that a lot of people feel comfortable being able to support and build partnerships. So we're all experts in this work. If you feel free, please, please, please share resources with others and drop them into the chat. I also want to just think about this because we'll be talking about this in our breakout room. So step one, we suggest create a leadership team or advisory committee that consists of diverse stakeholders, including ELL teachers, IEP teachers, parent coordinators, admin staff, school counselors, key partners, students, and even family members. And together, the goal would be to, step two would be establish a shared vision and mission, define roles and responsibilities, and set up structures for shared action, planning, and reflection. So some of these could be like one person directly responsible for outreach, another person responsible for organizing the scope and sequence for WBL. Another one can be somebody responsible for entering information into IMS. Like, just think about how you're collaborating as a community to help support this work. Step three, conduct an inventory assessment and needs assessment, including funding and partnership. Like, consider the diversity of your partners, such as, do you have industry partners? Do you have businesses represented? Colleges, university, community-based organizations that are racially, culturally, and linguistically diverse to support the needs of your ELLs and students with IEPs. Many times your families already have connections with existing CBOs in your area, so community mapping is a great strategy. Step four, develop a community map of community-based organizations within your area that meet the needs of your students and families. Again, many times these students already have the connections with CBOs, and this is a great opportunity to build relationships, get access to free and reduced services. Typically, these organizations also have funding or programming or even services that can be available to your school community and families, as well as connections with other organizations, businesses that can support your WBL activities for ELLs and students with IEPs. Sort of function like an intermediary of some sorts. Of course, you want to consider community mapping for businesses and industry partners in your area, but the availability may vary based on your school or district, and you may have to go outside of your area to think about these partners. And then finally, the last step that we suggest, like the quick steps are, once you have developed partnerships, we highly recommend organizing quarterly meetings with your advisory board and key partners to continuously assess the needs of your school community, students, and their families. Take this opportunity to discuss partnership strengths, challenges, areas of growth, and assess your partnership fit. And with that, Audrey's going to be able to dive deeper into what this could look like.
Thank you so much, Yesenia. Okay, so for building school, community, and industry partnerships, when you think about your first steps, you do want to do a needs assessment, assessing your school, community, and program needs. And you have to get an idea of what you're looking for so you know what you can potentially get. Are you looking for work-based learning experiences and sites? Are you looking for, because in many schools, you need up-to-date industry-based PD to know current industry trends. Are you looking for donations of goods for students or for the school? Are you looking for mentoring opportunities? Because we know mentoring is very different from a work-based learning experiences. Sometimes you may be looking for introductions of new technologies in the industries to your own school. You may want to create different classroom visitors to visit your group virtually to increase student engagement. And many times your community will wind up receiving gifts to students of tools or technology at graduation. And we want to be sure that you're constantly touching on the point that you need to be able to express to potential partners how important and vital it is to the growth of our city and our community that students who are ELLs and students who are neurodiverse will be best served by having really good work-based learning experiences and being able to share how important multilingualism is when you're running a business. And as you're serving different customers, you want to be able to reach your customers and make them feel comfortable. And you don't want, as an entrepreneur, to miss out on anybody who is in business, and who better to serve the diverse customers of New York City than a student who can identify tools and offer a service that can be charged for in a language other than English. What an asset to the business. And we know that 50% of our students speak another language at home. Could you imagine if a business could increase their outreach by 50%? That would be pretty fantastic. And we want to help you support growing your school, community, and industry partnerships in this manner. Next slide, please. So it's fantastic that somebody put into the chat business partnership, your business improvement districts, because we want to utilize all of those community connections. We want you to be able to connect how your industry can change life outcomes for students, especially from disadvantaged and non-traditional groups. We know CTE has a focus on uplifting women's participation in non-traditional employment. And we want you to feel that you can ask organizations that you work with or you partner with to maybe perhaps pay for fees for the school to participate in your local Rotary Club, your Kiwanis clubs in your areas, your Lions clubs. These are all, and these links will be sent to you in the PowerPoint that you'll receive, and they'll all be links that you can click on to find more information. And also those local business improvement districts, the BIDs, we know that they are looking, that's a geographical area where local stakeholders oversee and fund the maintenance, improvement, and promotion of their commercial districts. And usually they want to report out that they are supporting the local public schools. And they are very interested in having young people with their different trade experience participate in their organizations so they can report back that they're connected with the people of the city that they serve. And we want to also think about how the local business improvement districts want to help their district and market small businesses within their groups, because we know that the vast majority of employment in this country is with small business. BIDs facilitate networking among merchants, host community events, and advocate for improvements in their districts. They also serve as a liaison between local businesses and other stakeholders such as city government. So they can provide for you a collective voice in your neighborhood and help inform city policy based on their unique knowledge of your school. We also want to share that you should connect with your local chapter of your National Federation of Independent Trade Organizations, your local Chamber of Commerce, as well as community-based organizations for immigrants. These organizations have the connections with business and industry partners that can support the racially, culturally, and linguistically diverse students. So you want to access everything you possibly can when you're thinking about establishing partnerships, connecting partnerships, and really selling your school. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we're thinking about the strategies for building partnerships within your communities, I know Gavisar Reed runs incredible commission meetings for the city and within all of the 16 vocational cluster areas, which is fantastic. But if your school holds other industry commission meetings, you can leverage and make those connections for your students. Some strategies would be having businesses participate in work-based learning. Definitely getting your own quick elevator pitch, because you never know who you're going to meet. Either you're connecting with somebody socially or through an outside activity from work. Sharing the belief that having students work in their industry can make a difference and create a wonderful positive pipeline for the workforce. Business owners can experience the satisfaction, enjoyment of working with our young people, and we know how great CTE students are. Very close to my heart. You want to connect businesses you know personally to your school to expand those partnerships and be able to communicate how important it is for ELLs to participate, and also how important it is for students with disabilities who have been successful within your program to bring those skills that are vitally needed to the businesses. And then you want to definitely uplift the benefits of multilingualism as an asset in the workplace, to inquire about businesses' diversity and inclusion practices, missions, and visions that are in alignment with your school's own mission and vision for supporting racially and linguistically diverse high school students. Because number one, they're going to be their customers in the future. And number two, they're going to be their employees. And this is the future, and we want to bring that to the businesses to let them know. Next slide, please. Okay. Great. So the school's community should make all members feel comfortable reaching out and identify and initially connect with a potential business partner. Every person connected with your school, we're talking school safety, school aides, your school lunch personnel, anybody that works in the school is connected with the school, should be viewed and appreciated as a potential business contact, because everybody connects with local businesses and everybody can be a beginning of a wonderful relationship with those businesses. You want to, one of the things that I know we did when I was running, let's say, commission meetings in schools I've worked in, is make sure that I had an ELL teacher and an IEP teacher to share with us what would be some tips and techniques and accommodations and scaffolds to share with partners for ELLs and students with IEPs. And the idea being that we were talking to the experts and getting their input and opinions. Absolutely, Carl, I appreciate you being here, because I know that you've gone to those business districts and you constantly are reaching out to everybody that you know. And many times students will pick your high school because their parents may have background in those businesses, as well as the potential partners for your school. Absolutely. And we also say, we remind school staff, volunteers, and anyone who comes to your building that if they know somebody who has a contact with the local business, can they share that contact so you can start to follow up with them? Often parents and PTA are small business owners or work in your CTE areas and are not only happy, but they're proud of their children and the work that they do. And you really want to keep that in mind, because people who are willing to put their children and put so to speak, their money where their mouth is with CTE programs, they're going to be your best advocate. Both of my children have enjoyed being in CTE programs and I've learned a lot, and I'm a huge advocate for them, and I want to continue those partnerships for everybody. Next slide, please. Okay, so you want to look at your school's vision and your program. You want to engage your administrators. I speak to you as a former CTE principal as well as a CTE administrator. You want to engage them and let them know that you want to connect with good corporate citizens who promote and support societal growth and development, and that is in alignment with your school's mission and vision, and be able to showcase those partners with their support of local schools and school-based community projects, be it online, be it whatever it is you need to do. You want to give them those connections to your school as well as vice versa, so they can all get involved. You want to share with them how your students are developing into quality employees who have the specific industry knowledge and have well-developed soft skills, because businesses, that's where the employees run into trouble with the soft skills, and part of your program is having students learn those soft skills so they can retain their jobs. We want to for you to connect the outcomes of the CTE program with the district goals to raise interest and awareness of business support in the community. So this way you have a set speech, so to speak, that you can share with businesses that you come in contact with, and how it's in alignment with your school district, as well as with your school, as well as with your program. And considering ways to center racial equity in their mission, vision, and work stream as they define anti-racist agendas, and as you, as a school, define anti-racist agendas. And we also want to share that many organizations have a community service day, such as Macy's, NYC Cares, Viacom. All of these areas, they do want to give back to the communities because they know it builds loyalty in customers, and that will grow the economy overall and benefit everyone. Next slide, please. So in your initial discussions, your guiding principle for all partnerships is what's in the best interest of your ELLs and students with IEPs, as to center the needs of your most marginalized populations. The best partnerships have a win-win for you and your students, and some points to keep in mind as you're developing a project are using your student voice in identifying a need and creating a project around a critical issue after a community needs assessment, trying to involve as many CBOs and industries in your school as possible, while including that ELL teacher and the IEP teacher for added support, having your PTA, your PA community business partner meet to discuss the project, and receiving feedback from your ENL and IEP teachers on the project proposal to ensure appropriate scaffolds, and then sharing the impact of the business partner and how the project will have on the students as well as the larger community. Because once the project's over, you have to publicize it, and you have to share what was the lever of change that supported student growth and development and community growth and development. Next slide, please. Okay, so sharing your successes, there are different activities you could engage with and celebrate for the school community. Right now, under the pandemic, you could have a virtual appreciation ceremony with recorded for families and for your students' digital resume, where you may be acknowledging student work within their CTE program with a business partner, including the PTA and SLT. You could have a community project dedication ceremony with NYC DOE approved media support to memorialize the event with the media, And you could also have online community and business partners in their newsletter publication and flyers sharing and promoting how they're working with New York City Public School students to work on different projects. And of course, you would need the media consent form and administrative permission. You would also want you to reach out and invite that community and industry leader to speak at graduations. Ceremonies, many times, it's very rare that they don't show up with a, quite frankly, and I think Stacy Thomas can speak to this, with a really fantastic gift for the students that they'll use for a lifetime. They're usually very generous with our young people. And then the school can continue to celebrate their partnership in newsletters to parents and the larger communities. So it's really a win-win for all parties involved. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we're thinking about developing work sites, you will get this slide. You will receive all the deck, everything we've spoken about in your follow-up email. But you really want to think about person-centered with the students, ensuring that you've got their areas of interest, their family cultural background, their success strategies, as well as utilizing data sources to really hone in on what the student wants. You want to think about targeting business that relate to your clusters, your areas, and then you want to come up with your elevator pitch. And you also want the students to be able to share quickly their elevator pitch. So this way, when they start making their connections, they can keep it moving for you. And also ensure that students have their copies of information for themselves as they continue on their transition to post-secondary outcomes. And you want to make sure that students know who are those community partners, be familiar with them, and feel confident speaking to those community partners, because many times they will want to speak directly to students to get information and share. And then you want to connect with them through formalized meetings. What kind of jobs do you have? And discuss and explain your student population, so they're aware of the students that you're sending them. And they're also aware that all of these students are potential customers in the future. So it is very important for businesses to get to know all of our students. Thank you. Next slide, please.
And with that, we're going to, in the next, I'll say 8 minutes or so, you'll engage with others to discuss the following prompts. In your breakout rooms, please share your name, your role, your school. What strategies are you using to build partnerships with ELLs and students with IEPs? And when we return, we'll ask.
That had a different whatchamacallit on it.
Excuse me. Hi.
I just muted myself. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you. So we're going to go into breakout rooms, and then when we return, we'll ask for a few volunteers to share out. So please just be ready to share out. I'm also dropping the questions into the chat so that you have access to that. And I'm going to launch breakout rooms right now. Does anyone need help getting into a breakout room?
Yesenia, I think there's still 3 people who aren't in breakout rooms.
Yeah, for some reason it's not letting me put them. It's so weird. Let me try again. Yeah. Like I even put you in a breakout room and it's not, it for some reason didn't send you into one.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah. The only person I knew, Rebecca, wasn't going to be in a breakout room.
Okay.
But like everyone else should have been thrown in. Yeah, I don't know why it's not having them placed into a breakout room. Let me just chat with this. Hello. Like it should have automatically put people in the room because that's the function that I selected. I messaged the person to see if they need, okay, they went to a breakout room, I guess. I asked them if they needed help getting into a breakout room and now they're gone. All right. It didn't give you a message to get into a breakout room? Larry?
Sorry, I'm on mute, but no, it didn't.
That's weird. I wonder if it's because you're a co-host, because is everyone else a co-host?
The only other co-host, Audrey was a co-host. Takia was, but then she left the room and came back.
Yeah, I saw that. All right. So there's
because you're sharing your screen.
Oh, maybe.
That
That's a
could be
great
it.
point.
Actually,
Yeah.
that could be it.
Into a breakout room, the screen sharing would stop or something. Like
Thanks for pointing that out.
That makes a lot of sense. I never tried that. So that's got it. I always stop sharing screen and then. Hi.
How do I get back to room 3? Because I didn't see anyone in there.
Okay, let me.
We're actually popping in and out, and I don't know if it's my computer or.
Okay, I can. Thank you for like coming back. I will pop you into room 3, and if you have any other issues, I can always put you in another room.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No worries. I'm also trying to learn and navigate. So
Welcome to the club.
yeah, exactly. I'm learning to navigate technology. All right, it's not letting me throw you back into that room, so I'm gonna put you in another room. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy.
Thank you.
You should have gotten the invite. Perfect. Hi, Laura.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Is it not sending you into the room?
It's not. I'm gonna leave the meeting and log back in.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
We can also have a room here. Like we can make this a room.
It's okay. You guys are doing your thing with setting everything up for the next session. I'll leave and I'll join back in.
All right.
We'll see if that works. If that doesn't work, then you're stuck with me.
No worries. Thank you. Bye. Yeah, this is really weird. I'm gonna close the breakout room in 1 more minute. Is that okay?
Yep, that's totally
yeah,
fine.
that sounds good.
Okay. So we're actually I just closed the breakout room, so we should have 1 more minute.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. It's okay. Thank you.
And I had myself muted when I gave you the I'm back.
right, folks should be coming back. Let's see. Yep. Okay, great. Perfect. All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed your breakout rooms. I know there's some folks who might still be coming back from their breakout rooms, so I'll give a few more seconds, and then we will jump right into share out, which would be the next slide, Larry. Okay, Larry, can you turn to the next slide, please? Nope, the one right before this.
Is that 8 minutes?
It was, I hope you had a lot of conversations. It was 8 minutes. I would love to thank you again, guys, for enjoying your breakout rooms. I hope you had fruitful conversations, and I'm going to ask someone to be brave and like take 2 share outs. Anyone want to share out?
Sure, I'll go first.
Perfect.
My name is Stephen Jackson. I'm the principal at Aviation High School. We're in a unique situation where our CTE focus is aviation maintenance. So we have, it's our 85th year. We've been a part of the industry for a long time. So for students with disabilities, they're in our program, of course, like all students are in our program, the entire school. But what we do for all of our students, especially for ELL and special ed students, is to make sure that they get exposure to not just the maintenance field, because it is such a strict licensing area, but they also get exposure to all the variety of companies that are at the airports. So we have not only partners at all over the airports, but also graduates at all these companies too. So we have speakers often. We try to build mentorships and linkage for the students directly. And right now with remote, last term we did a lot of it. We're still in the process of starting it up, but having like Zoom conferences where students can ask our partners questions and meet with different types of representatives from different companies, different levels. So that way they get a sense that it's not, yes, we're focused on aviation maintenance. It's a very strict licensing area, but there's a whole range of jobs in the aviation field that are open to people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you uplifting that. And that's really important for students to be able to see the diversity that exists even within an industry and
Right.
knowing that it's like not just one thing, right? Anyone else want to uplift kind of what they're hearing or strategies that they're currently using to build a relationship? And thank you everyone for keep dropping into the chat some good ideas. I'll take one more voice and then we'll move on.
Just to kind of share out for our group. So one of the things that we were really kind of centralized on actually was not just the creation of the partnerships, but really kind of solidifying the student experience on the other side, right? Because the partnership creation is I would say it's a generalized process, but the concern is not sort of creating a deficit of the student experience in talking to the partners about what our students' assets are, right? But really about reaffirming for the student, one, this is an opportunity you deserve, but understanding you may feel that certain things are challenges. This is how you resubmit these aspects of you, who you are, as skills and not deficits, right? So it really became a question of like, one, ascertaining the surrounding environment, because so many of our schools can feel like they're surrounded by a lot of business, but when you start looking at where you can create connections, things might spread out a bit more, right? You might end up in sort of a weird opportunity desert, depending on where your school is located. But also knowing that your students need to really have the affirmation on the back end from us, so that they're not walking into their experience assuming a deficit that can actually be a strength, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Actually, you must be seeing my slides in advance. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but I'll give Takia a second to share something out.
Real quick, I wanted to just share what was talked about in our group, which I thought was really important, which is that, our schools need to share with each other. A couple of our schools had synergy because one WBL coordinator decided to share an internship opportunity with another. They developed, their own relationship. So it's not about the me, and I am only going to do this for my students, but also thinking about how maybe sometimes you may not be able to fill the entire ask that a company has, or maybe your students may not be appropriate. And so opening up the door to another partnership is not taking anything away, because often people double back and will share with you again, and it's all part of the community. So just kind of becoming a little bit more selfless around how we, divvy up the pie, and being able to be generous with the contacts that you have is really important.
100%. Thank you for really uplifting that, because that's really important when thinking about, like, we're all experts in this, we're all doing this together, and like, how do we support one another and build each other up? Because regardless of where the student is, these are all of our students. System wide, we have a responsibility as a system to support this. So thank you so much for uplifting that. And I hope that even thinking about plans for next session or from January on, that we think about this more in the WBL Institute and how we do our work together. So thank you again for uplifting that, Kia. Next slide. So with that, we're going to talk about some strategies, mindsets, and beliefs that you should bring into your partnership conversation to support ELLs and students with IEPs. So I'm going to touch a little bit more about what Desmond kind of uplifted when he shared out earlier. Next slide. So specifically when supporting ELLs and students with IEPs, it's really important to norm and discuss mindsets, belief systems that you should bring into supporting students and for supporting ELLs and students with IEPs. And these are mindsets and beliefs that you should also share with your partners. Like, you should be vision aligned, right? So some of these mindsets and belief systems include anyone can go to college and have a fulfilling career, regardless of immigration status or IEP status. Lots of questions come up around what is possible for undocumented students or students with IEPs. Let's be clear, it's all possible. I will repeat again, it is all possible for our students. Also, remember, don't ask necessarily about immigration status or IEP status. Instead, share all information for undocumented students or students with IEPs, programming, resources, services with all students, regardless of their status. Share a snapshot of your background of your ELLs and students with IEPs with partners, speakers, employers. Be sure to highlight sort of what Desmond mentioned, the strengths, and frame needs in terms of support, such as language scaffolds or language needs. Many people already have a deficit mindset when it comes to our students and our population. So many times our students have to overcome additional barriers and work harder in order to be successful because of these mindsets and belief systems. We want you to also emphasize that students are still learning and share best practices to working with ELLs and students with IEPs, such as approaching students from an asset-based approach that celebrates their racial, cultural, and linguistic identities, or providing feedback using like the sandwich approach, right? Positive feedback, areas of growth, positive feedback, and then ask students to identify their own areas of growth they're interested in working on so that it's inclusive of their voices as well. Develop a list of questions or scenarios to conduct with partners to assess their readiness and ability to support students while building their skills to support the needs of your students. So like consider things like, what is the multicultural makeup of your organization? Or I have a student who speaks Spanish at my school. Does your organization have Spanish speakers or folks who can identify with my student? Representation matters, and students need to see people who look like them and reflected in all spaces and all positions. So if a partner can't meet the needs of your students, it's okay, sort of what Kia was talking a little bit about, it's okay to say no to a partner or identify different ways for your partner to be able to support your WBL implementation. Next slide, please.
Okay, so for when we think about our students, one of the things that we have to remember is that after they leave us in high school, they are, while they're with us in high school, they're entitled to different services that we offer. The ELL services, special students with IEPs also receive services and accommodations. Once they leave our nest, so to speak, and they're out there in the post-secondary world, if we have not already, as Yesenia said, trained our students to be self-advocates, to speak up for themselves, and to be able to articulate to potential employers about the positive things they bring to the workplace and have that documented as evidence in their resume, they are eligible for services after that high school experience is over. So the students have to be able to sell themselves, sell their skills, and be able to put that best foot forward after they leave high school, because they are their own advocates at that point. We also, as the TCAC, run PLOs for self-advocacy and self-determination for our students, and it's open to students with IEPs. And that is part of the process, having our CTE students be able to learn their pitch, sell their personal pitch, and put that into their resume to share it with other institutions. And we also, part of our charge is to explain to businesses that you too work under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we have had situations where we've had schools reach out to become work-based learning sites, and the employers have been a little reluctant, and we remind them, oh, you wouldn't dream of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act, correct? Oh, no, 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 no. So many times we're in the position where we share techniques and resources for businesses too. And that's something that we offer from the TCAC. So we want to share that with everybody. Yes, next slide, please. Okay, so work-based learning experiences for ELLs. Oh, I'm sorry, Yesenia, is this yours? My apologies. I'm just so excited. I'm sorry.
It's completely okay. We know many of you are currently working on virtual internship opportunities or other WBL opportunities for your students. These are some of the ways you're able to create strong WBL experiences for your students with existing partners. Ask partners to identify racially, culturally, and linguistically diverse staffing to serve as speakers or mentors. Again, representation really matters, and there's significant evidence that correlates student learning with who's in front of them. And we want students to be able to see themselves in the world of endless possibilities. With that said, leveraging students' home language or racially, cultural, and linguistic diversity when creating job shadowing or work placement match opportunities are a great opportunity as well. Also including panel questions for speakers that uplift multilingualism as an asset in the workplace. There are so many students, as Audrey mentioned earlier, who have a home language other than English. And we should be reinforcing this to students, the power of multilingualism, the power of bilingualism that allows students to be more marketable in the workplace, and reject white supremacy concepts that basically believe that English is a hierarchical language. In France, there are so many people who speak at least 2 to 3 languages because it's seen as powerful and advantageous. So this is the kind of culture that we should be pushing and supporting with our students. Also support employers in creating scaffolding training plans for students that uplift their learning needs, such as providing key terms or glossaries or even read aloud software, right? Provide students with a note catcher or graphic organizer or reflection questions to help them gather, organize their thoughts, and process their experiences. And I'll show you some examples on the next slide, which, yes, perfect. So as a team, we try to be very aware of the cultural, racial, and gender representation of those we place in front of students. This is basically from a session that we held over the summer for students. We don't typically do direct service to students, but over the summer, we had an opportunity to provide direct services to students. So students speaking directly, we had students speaking directly about their experience, ranging from the college search to current experiences of college students who were immigrants or former ELLs, as well as professionals via career panels who have attained different avenues to get to their place of passion, who were also either immigrants or former ELLs or lived abroad and had worldly views and experiences. However, with that, we really, prioritize our visuals which will allow to see who students are in front of. So we worked with actually the CTE team earlier this year to also do kind of the same thing with NASDAQ and kind of uplift multilingualism with NASDAQ in order to support Latinx students. On the next slide, you'll be able to see when thinking about our students, we also, as Audrey mentioned earlier, want to center the most marginalized populations and affirm students to be their best self. And as a result, we're really mindful of the power of visuals and being intentional in our approach. This is definitely also an opportunity for you and a way for you to provide feedback with your partners or examples of ways you and your partner can work together to be mindful of the visuals that you're using with your students. You should think, who do my students most need to see themselves when they see themselves? Or how do I normalize this beauty so that others appreciate it as well? We should be positioning Black and Brown folks and culturally responsive sustaining education to benefit Black and Brown students, but this also benefits white students to see our power and our presence in spaces. Hopefully with our visuals in our work, we can affirm our marginalized students in our schools and doesn't position one fight over the other being more important than one another. Also, these images don't limit to who our students are due to the way they dress, religious background, or skin color. So images definitely redefine what it means to dress professionally. So just be, mindful of these things as we're working with our partners and also in our work with our students on a regular basis. Next slide. So with that, we do want to talk about kind of resources. We have only a few minutes left. And I want to be mindful of what I'm seeing in the chat. If you go to the next slide, we have a bunch of resources here. So we have like top information, the application, the work host site agreement. We have reasonable accommodations for in the workplace. We have CBOs that you can reach out to. We have direct student workbooks that DML created. We included the WBL mapping grid in case you guys haven't seen it, but it's a great resource that also has supports for ELLs and students with IEPs. And then we shared DML SharePoint as well as the website. I did see a question, we do have time. So I did see a question in the chat that I wanted to create space to give Audrey an opportunity to kind of address. And the question was like about TOP. The question, how does TOP program work? Audrey, would you mind? I'm just looking at have the time.
I would be thrilled. In terms of, I'll just wait for, okay. For TOP, the in the chat, you're going to see, and thank you so much, Rebecca, for putting in the TOP application and then the TOP worksite host agreement. Which it's all virtual. One of the pieces that came out of my group that was in our breakout session was that people had connected students with mentors before, and another group mentioned that they were involved in the TOP program. And one of the ideas could be, if you already have mentors or other virtual work that students are doing, you can, for their TOP work-based learning experience, you can list that through your school as the student's TOP work-based learning experience. The application is in the chat. It's due December 7th. I know that, but we'll work with everybody to try to get them in. Under the pandemic, we've received information that we do not need students' working papers because it's very hard now under the pandemic to bring your child to a doctor. But you have all the information you need for the application. And if you have something where your student with an IEP is working with a CTE partner, and you are the work-based learning coordinator, you know what they're doing, that would be a viable work-based learning experience that the students could get compensated for. It's 15 hours and it's a $200 stipend. And you know what? It's different from last year, but money is money, and there's nothing wrong with that. And our students can engage in that program and continues a lot of the partnerships that are already in place. And that you would submit that top application to your borough TCAC office, and that information is in that application for the students. And I just want to thank everybody for their, we had some rich conversation here today. We had a wonderful group here today, a lot of interaction in the chat and in the chat rooms. And I speak to you as a first generation American and as a mother of a child with an IEP. We want to continue to promote our students and equity and access for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Go ahead, Takia.
No,
I'll
I
pass
was
it on
just
to
going to
you.
say I'm just so excited that we had this session today, and I appreciate you guys so much for collaborating with us on this. And I wanted to kick it to Larry Fleming Williams to just round out our session with the final 2 slides.
Sure. Thanks, Takia. So first, please feel free to contact DML at dml@schools.nyc.gov or mntcac@schools.nyc.gov. It's going to be dropped into the chat, but the second link that you see is actually for the Institute exit survey link. So please feel free to fill out that survey before signing off or after, but the link should be dropped in the chat any moment. The next link is actually for the upcoming Institute sessions, of which we have one more left on December 16th. And the final resource that we have, the final link is actually to our resource folder, where you'll find all links and resources as provided by DML and TCAT this afternoon. So on behalf of myself, Takia, and Yesenia, DML, and TCAT, we thank you for attending. If you want any more information, please feel free to reach out to Yesenia Crespo, Audrey Mangan, Takia, or myself. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks so much, Larry. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy, and we hope to see you in a couple of weeks for the final WBL Institute session. If you're interested in CTLE credit, as usual, please, you have to fill out the exit ticket to indicate that, and then we will follow up with you. Okay? Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.